So my tutorial is on shutter speed versus aperture priority. So first, shutter speed, as a refresher, is like a curtain that stays closed in front of your camera sensor, and it stays closed until we capture an image. And how long the shutter or curtain is open depends on our settings that are measured in fractions of time. So an example would be 1/8, which is an eighth of a second, which would be slower than 1/4000, which is a 4,000th of a second. That would be a lot faster that the curtain or shutter would open and close. And I like to focus on shutter speed when I'm capturing motion. Obviously, shutter speed always plays a role when we're capturing images, but when I focus on those settings, either in shutter speed priority or just in my manual settings, is usually when I'm capturing motion. So this little diagram here kind of demonstrates the difference. So 1/10 would be a tenth of a second, which is going to let in more light because your curtain or shutter is going to open and close slower. So it's going to blur your motion that you're trying to capture, where 1/200 is a 200th of a second. And less light's going to be let in because your shutter is going to open and close faster, which is going to freeze your motion. So the benefits of shutter speed would be capturing motion, freezing motion, and blurring motion. Next is aperture, which is the opening of the camera that controls how much of your shot is in focus, or controls the depth of field, and we measure this in f-stops, and the F stands for focal length, pardon me. So f32 is the smallest opening on most DSLR cameras, and f2.5, or 2, is usually the largest opening. So I have another diagram here. I focus on aperture most of the time because I like how I can control the depth of field, how much of my image is in focus. I also like to try and control my light with it as well. So f2 or 2.5, the most light is going to be let in, less is going to be in focus, you're going to have a smaller depth of field, where f32, the least amount of light is let in because the hole is smaller, but more is going to be in focus, so you're going to have a larger depth of field. Oops, wrong way. So the benefits of focusing on aperture is you can control the depth of field, you can control how much light you're letting in, and you control how much of your image is in. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate aperture priority using this ceramic flower. I am shooting in manual, but I'm going to focus on my aperture. So we'll start with taking our f-stop way down to 4. So our aperture opening is going to be quite large, so we can compensate light with our shutter there, and my ISO is bumped up because I'm inside. So I'll take a shot here. Let's see if I can't do it. Down it. Alright, so as you can see, I hope you can see in this, there's kind of a glare on it, but the background, there's these little they're little decorations, and they are all blurred. You cannot see them very well because our depth of field is really small. So if we go back over to our aperture and we take it way up, that's plenty. We need to compensate for some light here. So now we're at f-stop 10, and we take the same picture. You can hear the shutter go a little slower because we compensated for light. All of those little decorations in the background are sharp and in focus. So that's a little demonstration on aperture.